In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the oil pan on your Nissan Altima. Using a 14mm socket, remove the drain plug from the oil pan. Be sure to have something to catch the oil when you pull this plug out. Once the oil is done draining, reinstall the drain plug. Using a 10mm socket, I'm going to go around and remove all the bolts for the oil pan. I'm going to break these all free, make sure they're not stuck in there, and I'm going to go around with a power tool and pull them out quickly. I'm only going to remove these front three about halfway so that when I pry down on the back of this pan, it doesn't just totally fall on me and cover me in oil. Using some sort of pry tool, we're going to push down on this oil pan to separate it from the upper. You want to make sure not to mar up the surface on this top layer when you're going in between. I'm going to very carefully and gently tap down the side of the pan, try and break it free. To make sure I don't scuff up the surface, I'm going to switch to a flat blade so that it goes in straight and it's not at an angle. I'm going to go back and take those 3 screws out of the front. And pull the pan completely off. With the pan off, we're going to prep the mating surface for the new pan to go on. You're going to want to let all of this drip for a little bit just to make sure that there's going to be no oil that comes down and hits the RTV while you're putting the pan on, causing it not to seal. At that point, you will end up doing the job again because it will leak. So get up on the inside and clean out in here where the oil drips are going to come down. You can let it sit for a half an hour to an hour, just letting it drain, just sitting here. There's going to be more oil that comes out depending on how long the car has been sitting. We're also going to go around and clean up this surface. I'm going to be using a razor blade and then maybe a piece of really light grit sandpaper just to clean it up. If you're using a razor blade to clean this up, be very careful. The razor blade can scratch this aluminum or put a gouge in it, so you want to be very careful. And then go around the rest of the pan doing the same thing. This is about what your mating surface will look like when you're done cleaning it. This oil is going to keep dripping down. This has been sitting for about 35 minutes, dripping out. We're going to give it one wipe here. A little bit of brake parts cleaner. Make sure the surface is completely good. And then we're going to go put RTV on our pan. And then right before we put the pan up, we're going to wipe this one more time and make sure there's no drips coming down. Using gray RTV, we're going to go around the pan, making a line of sealant. And when going around the bolt holes, we're going to go on the inside when we're going around the pan. When you're doing this, you want to try and make this bead as uniform as possible the whole way. If you feel like anywhere needs a little bit more, you can always add just a little bit more to certain places. If you smooth this out with a glove or your finger, make sure your finger is free of any oil or debris or anything that might disrupt the sealing of this sealer. Once you have that done, we're going to wipe that mating surface one more time using brake parts cleaner, making sure there's no oil on our mating surface or any drips that are going to interfere while we're putting this up. I like to put my bolt in a 10mm socket, install one bolt into the pan, and gently put it up and in, trying not to touch the whole pan to the mating surface. Once I have that one started, I grab a second one, and now I know it's going to be lined up. Then I push the pan to the surface, trying not to squeeze too hard to one side or the other, trying to make sure it's pretty uniform. And then just go around and start all your bolts kind of finger tight. You want to do this on various different places on the pan to make sure that the sealant is being squeezed in an even fashion. You don't want to do all the bolts on one side and then move to the other. Our final torque on these bolts will be 78 inch-pounds, which is roughly 6.5 foot-pounds. I'm going around right now and just getting them all to a good even point. Once we're there, we'll switch over to a torque wrench and start torquing them down. And torque the drain plug to 25 foot-pounds. At the end, you should have a nice even squeeze around the outside of the pan. What I mean by squeeze is the amount of RTV coming out from the side. Once you have your pan in place, read the directions on the back of the gasket maker or RTV bottle you used and see what its drying time is. Ours says that this should dry for 30 minutes before adding engine oil. So now we'll wait 30 minutes before adding engine oil. We're going to install 5 quarts of 530 engine oil. Before filling the oil, I'm going to take this engine cover off because I don't have a funnel. If I spill, I want to be able to get to it quick. Using a 5mm hex head, I'm going to remove the 3 bolts that hold on the cover. I'm going to add 4.9 quarts of 530. We installed 4.9 quarts. After you're done adding your oil, reinstall your oil cap. To get a general amount and where the oil's at, dip the dipstick down, pull it out, and since it's been sitting up for a while, there's no need to wipe it the first time. And our oil is right at the full mark. We're going to start the car, let it run for a few minutes, turn it off, and then check it again after it's been sitting for 5 minutes. After letting the car run and stopping it and letting it sit and the oil draining back, pull the dipstick out, clean it off, reinsert it, pull it out again, and you want your oil right at this full mark. The top dot and the bottom dot represent 1 quart of oil inside of the engine. If you're at the full mark, you're good to go. If you need to add, then you can approximately tell how much you need to add. Wipe it, stick it back in. We'll reinstall the engine cover. And you're all done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.